This week's big review covers the much anticipated Jaeger from Audio Imperia. This company are very well known for their excellent sound design libraries and brilliant percussion, but this is their first foray into sampling a full orchestra. It's a 45GB collection, that's the uncompressed size, and this runs in the full version of Kontakt 5.5.2 and above. It doesn't run in the Kontakt player. Jaeger downloads using the Continuata Connect tool, which unusually I didn't have any issues with this time around, so that's great. Maybe they've updated that. The library is split into strings, brass percussion, solo vocals and sound design, and each of these folders contains patches for multiple articulations controlled by key switch, and there are individual patches for each articulation as well. Personally, I'd find these useful in my specific template, but obviously you've got the choice of those two different options. A couple of things you do need to know about the library: there are no second violins here, the violins are all combined, and also there's no woodwinds. The interface is pretty straightforward, with mostly everything there on the main window, including mixing controls. You've got 4 individual mic positions which you can mix, or there's a pre-mixed position as well. There are also functions for velocity curve, legato interval tweaking and dynamics. And you can also use the central big knob to introduce up to 7 simultaneous effects. Lastly, there's a send effects section which can be used alongside the key switch triggers to automate volume, panning and filters via step sequences. So let's have a little listen to Jaeger in action. There's a lot to love in this library, and I spent many hours playing with a huge smile on my face, just going through the articulations, going through the sounds, and really having a blast. I'll get specific for a minute. So firstly, there's a nice smooth legato on virtually all the orchestral instruments. Although latency does become a little bit of an issue between notes, you might want to tweak the legato setting in the menu to adjust that. The articulations are just the main basic ones, but often that's all you need for hybrid trailing scoring, which is squarely where this product is aimed. The brutal and powerful percussion has the ability to play rolls on the mod wheel. I do love that. And I also love the individual articulation patches, which, as I said before, they work well in my template. The interface is great. It's nice to look at and makes things very flexible. So it's really easy to move the key switch and playable ranges around to suit you. The percussion has two sets of patches, one that compensates for the percussion being at the back of the room and one that doesn't, and I did appreciate that as well. It was nice to be able to push that percussion back just by using different patches. I also love the FX and big knob functions. These are useful and really easy to tweak, although they are using the onboard contact effects, which some people love, some people don't. Personally, I've not got a problem with them. I especially appreciated the panning and volume effect sequences, and they made it really easy to add tempo synced gating to any patch. That's useful for kind of transformer noises, that sort of thing. On the sound design side, I did also love being able to change the EQ, the filters, the pitch and sample start points, not only of the entire patch, but also of individual sounds within the engine. That's a big plus and something that a couple of developers, naming no names, have not been able to pull off in the last couple of years. Overall, this library is excellent and hits its intended target as a scoring tool for powerful pieces. That said, there are a few things that I'd have liked to have seen, although do bear in mind that these things are all pretty minor niggles in the grand scheme of things. First of all, considering the price point, I do think that Audio Imperia could have sprung for contact player licensing. Perhaps there'll be an upgrade in the future for this as they find how successful the library is going to be. I really do hope so. Not all the articulations fit in the display of the UI, so you have to scroll left and right to see some of these. That's a little bit of an annoyance, and actually to begin with it made me miss out on a few articulations. I didn't really realise they were there. Also, these articulations aren't really consistent in their mapping and in their selections. So for example, there's no pizzicato or sordino for strings, and there's no legato for some of the patches, but there are for some of the other ones. There's also no tonguing for the brass. Those little brass rips and brass tongues, that's something that I would have appreciated to be in there, something that I do find typical of trailer scoring. So for a library primarily focused on this type of scoring, I would have also expected a choir. Even a really simple one would have been great, not just solo vocals. Speaking of the vocals, these can't be easily truncated or the sample start points changed as far as I could tell. That's definitely something I'd like to see in an update, maybe loading those phrases into the sound design engine where you've got a lot more options. There are also a few sound design samples that have periods of silence at the beginning of them, but you can easily fix this with the sample start point adjustment. As I say, all of these things, minor niggles, but things that I'd like to see improved in an update. So what's the verdict on Jaeger? Well, I think it's a remarkable achievement for Audio Imperia. This is their first full library incorporating orchestral instruments, but you never know it from the classy way that they've pulled it off. It's generally bug-free with an easy-to-use and visually striking interface, and the samples have been mostly well recorded, although at times I can tell that some of the louder dynamic material is at the very limit of the player's ranges, and there are a few odd noises scattered about here and there. Jaeger is entering an increasingly crowded marketplace with the ARC series from Orchestral Tools and 8DO's Majestica. These are already established names. However, based on the quality of the samples, their implementation and the thoughtful design, I can see Jaeger quickly carving out its own fanbase. Of course, the price point is going to be prohibitive for some at $600 or so, but if you've got the cash and you're starting out fresh in trailer or hybrid scoring, Jaeger covers almost everything you need in one hit, so it's a big thumbs up from me. Thank you so much for watching. That's just a small taste of the Samplecast, a weekly podcast and YouTube show for sample library geeks and plugin enthusiasts. You can find out more information at thesamplecast.com. Don't forget to subscribe.